Over the course of 2024, a number of criminal activities and stories rocked the British Virgin Islands, including burglaries, home invasion, murders, and much more. One of those such stories was the life of Jareem Todman, 35-year-old, who was murdered at the Market Square. We take a look at the top crime stories of 2024. Prominent lawyer Jamal Smith, which raised concerns about the community's safety. The 56-year-old Jamal Smith was a prominent local lawyer who served as chairman of the Labor Arbitration Tribunal. Expertise in complex corporate transactions, especially involving intellectual property rights. His tragic murder sent shockwaves throughout the Virgin Islands. He was hailed as a champion legal profession. Two males lost their lives following a shooting incident in Humptumsgut early on Friday, May 17th. According to a statement from the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the shooting happened around 1 a.m. The deceased have been identified as Hispanic nationals, 44-year-old Alec Montero Hernandez, a barber who resided in Foy Hill, and a 33-year-old Amakiko Vasquez Ramirez, who resided in Seacows Bay. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force launched three major investigations following two deaths and one injury. The incidents occurred over the weekend of Saturday, July 27th and Sunday, July 28th. The first two incidents were related to shootings in Boggis Bay and Road Town. The Boggis Bay shooting, which took place on Saturday night, resulted in a man being hospitalized with gunshot wounds at the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital. The second shooting occurred in Road Town at the Market Square on Sunday, July 28th, where 34-year-old Jareem Todman was shot multiple times and subsequently died. The third incident involved a man being found dead inside a inflatable dinghy near Great Kamano shortly after 7 a.m. on Saturday, July 27th, 2024. The deceased was identified as 29-year-old Jamal Freeman of Long Look. On Sunday, August 11th, a Virgin Islander was shot and killed in Anguilla. The victim, Khalik Aaron, was the son of a well-known local businessman. Following his burial, United States Virgin Islands police found the desecrated grave of Virgin Islander Khalik Aaron after a disturbing discovery was made by Public Works Department employees at the Eastern Cemetery in Smiths Bay, St. Thomas, on Tuesday, October 8th. A cemetery worker discovered that the tomb of Aaron had been broken into. VIPD confirmed that the concrete tomb had been forcefully opened, possibly using a hammering tool, which also damaged the casket inside. Detailing the extent of the damages, officers noted that the casket had holes in it and the top and bottom portions, which appeared to have been cut with a saw. Additionally, police detected a strong odor of bleach in the area and found bleach stains on Aaron's clothing and face. A piece of board had been placed over the broken tomb, with wreaths arranged on top. Family members informed the police that no valuable items were buried with Aaron, leaving the motive behind the desecration unclear. The spat of home invasions aggressively climbed this year. A woman was assaulted by gunmen who broke into her home in Johnson's Holt, Tortola. The incident happened on Saturday night, and it came just a week after a similar burglary in Slaney Hill area where a gunman attempted to rape the victim, a housekeeper. Officials of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force arrested an undisclosed number of persons following an early morning raid on February 27th. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force said it made multiple arrests while conducting an extensive operation targeting suspects involved in the February 4th shooting in King Garden Bay and the February 9th robbery at the Aladdin store on Fleming Street, Tortola. Both incidents have sent shockwaves through the territory. Overseas Territories Minister Stephen Doty was briefed on the daring armed robbery that took place at Aladdin in this year. During his two-day visit on Monday, November 4th to Wednesday, November 6th, Minister Doty was updated on the ongoing security challenges in the Virgin Islands, which could possibly inform his decision on whether to lift the UK-imposed order in council. In February, 4 masked men armed with high-powered weapons carried out a brazen robbery at Aladdin Boutique, which sells high-end jewelry, colognes, and luxury items, leaving 3 female staff members traumatized but uninjured. Following the incident, the National Security Council, led by Governor, approved measures to strengthen public security, including daily foot patrols in Road Town area and the addition of 30 new police officers to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. The NSC, which includes key government officials, is responsible for overseeing international security matters in the territory. An inmate at His Majesty's Prison in Balsam Gut was this year charged with the April 2023 murder of Longlook resident Kimo Letsums. Following an investigation, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force charged Andreas Norford, a current inmate at His Majesty's Prison, with murder. He was charged on Monday, July 8th, joining his co-accused 32-year-old Vernon Bernard of Manual Reef and 28-year-old Jelani Marquise of Hannah's Estate, both of whom were charged with Letsums' murder on April 24, 2024. Police have charged 30-year-old Denston Johnny of Humptons Gut with attempted murder, possession of a firearm with intent to commit an indictable offense, and unlawful possession of explosives. This is in connection to the shooting incident at UP's Cineplex on Saturday, July 6th. 2 men traveling in a vehicle, 37-year-old Akeem Joseph of St. Croix USVI and 32-year-old Kyrique Gardner of the Valley Virgin Gorda, were jointly charged with possession of a prohibited firearm. They were also charged with keeping an unlicensed firearm, 2 counts of unlawful possession of explosives, unlawful possession of cannabis, and unlawful possession of cannabis with intent to supply. In December, a female officer attached to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force was arrested for pulling a gun on her girlfriend. The officer was formally charged and granted bail in the sum of $100,000. The victim received treatment at the Dr. Deolando Smith Hospital. The matter is ongoing. Justice was served in the High Court on Friday, July 12th, as Rohan Williams was finally found guilty on both counts of the murder and rape of Lenia Green, an incident that shocked the Georgia's Northside community in 2019. Williams' conviction marked the culmination of relentless efforts by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and the dedicated team at the Director of Public Prosecutions. 3 of the 4 charges against Andrew Murrell in connection with the fatal boating incident that resulted in the death of Frandy Martin Jr. on October 16, 2021 were this year dropped. Murrell had been charged with manslaughter, causing injury to Elsa Baptiste, causing injury to Ray Bruley, and causing injury to Graham Stanton. With the exception of the manslaughter charge, all other charges were dropped after Murrell's attorney, Charles Bott, KC of Martin Kenny and Company, successfully made a no-case submission before the presiding judge, Justice Stanley John. His trial continues in court for the manslaughter charge, and Murrell has opted to take the witness stand. Captain Stanton of the Blue Bayou is facing 1 charge of failing to render assistance following a collision. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force charged a South African man with manslaughter following a boating incident that claimed the life of Captain Stephen Cross Jr. The incident occurred near Sabre Rock, Virgin Gorda, late on Friday, November 22nd, when a 20-foot rib collided with a dinghy piloted by Cross Jr. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, 36-year-old Leslie Jabert, believed to be the captain of the rib, was charged with manslaughter. He was granted bail in the sum of $120,000. This year, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force faced criticism over internal governance issues, with a damning review revealing failures in accountability and resistance to change. Allegations against the Commissioner of Police further complicated the public's trust in law enforcement. The BVI has become the first jurisdiction to implement the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court's e-litigation criminal module. The new development is believed to fulfill the goal of providing access to justice to everyone at any time through the e-litigation portal. A recent review of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force revealed a concerning lack of internal governance and performance management structures. The review, commissioned by the Governor in response to the 2022 Commission of Inquiry report, found that despite the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force identifying areas of improvement in its strategic plan and internal reviews, a culture of resistance to change has hindered progress. The report added that the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force may be unwilling or unable to implement the recommended changes and suggest that the Governor and Police Commissioner recruit a team with the necessary skills and experience to manage a major change program. Without such intervention, the report warned that the recommended improvements are likely to be effective or implemented. Former Governor John Ranking launched an inquiry into the allegations mounted against Police Commissioner Mark Collins. Dozens of concerned officers of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force signed a petition petitioned for Collins' removal from office while citing a myriad of allegations ranging from misconduct to abuse of power. Collins was not put on administrative leave pending the outcome of an inquiry into misconduct against him. The governor allowed Collins to remain on the job while Cayman Islands Police Commissioner Kurt Walton reviewed over 50 allegations levied against him by fellow police officers. Collins was accused of dozens of officers of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force of unfair practices, abuse of power, among other things, resulting in a petition to the governor and UK officials that called for his removal from office. Officials with responsibility for national security have declined to confirm reports that a senior officer within the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is under investigation. Reports suggested that a high-ranking police officer this year was the subject of an internal investigation. Former Commissioner Mark Collins stated he could not comment on the matter. His silence raised concerns about the current circumstances within the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. The police force is currently preparing to enter a transition phase as Commissioner Collins' tenure as top cop has drawn to an end. Does the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force have the capacity to curb the crime and violence raised within the community? That's the question that one journalist asked members of the opposition this year, who called for the government to take serious actions to address this growing problem. Residents also questioned the force's ability. A law enforcement review this year recommended that there should be term limits for the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. The review suggests that the DPP should be appointed on a fixed term contract, renewable at the discretion of the governor. The current appointment is without a time limit. Immediately after Ashawn Westcott was acquitted of murder in the High Court this year, Director of Public Prosecutions Tiffany Scatliff prepared and filed an application to appeal the decision. Westcott, who was accused of the murder of Nikira Smith, was freed on Wednesday, June 26, 2024, after his attorney Israel Bruce successfully made a no-case submission, arguing that the evidence presented by the prosecution was insufficient to link the defendant to the crime. According to police reports, approximately 12 young men aged 21 and under were arrested during the summer months of June and July of this year. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force revealed that most of these young offenders were still teenagers. The charges they faced range from serious offenses such as firearm possession and wounding to lesser offenses like traffic violations. In June, a 14-year-old boy was arrested and charged with 2 counts of wounding. Another 17-year-old from Joss Van Dyke faced multiple charges. Additionally, a 19-year-old resident of Free Bottom and 21-year-old from Windy Hill A 14-year-old boy from Virgin Gorda was arrested after a AK-47 assault rifle was found in his bedroom. Police conducted a search of the residence with the father's permission and recovered the rifle along with 18 rounds of ammunition from the minor's room. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force charged a 12-year-old boy with indecent language, setting his bail at $3,000. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the boy was arrested on November 22nd in the Greenland area after reportedly hurling profanities at police officers. They also reported that another member of the group, a 15-year-old from Greenland, had been arrested earlier on November 6th for unlawful possession of a controlled drug. He was granted bail in the sum of $3,000. 19-year-old Jakaiba Williams and 21-year-old Keandre Williams of Free Bottom were charged for separate incidents that occurred in April and May of this year. The two were nabbed following several weeks of intensive investigation into reports of burglary, theft, and other offenses committed at both commercial and residential properties. This year, several women took to social media sharing troubling stories of being assaulted or threatened by Soniel Hanley, a man they describe as a menace to society who has a history of similar behavior. The post shared on Facebook drew dozens of responses and revealed ongoing concerns about the man's repeated actions. The women expressed concerns that authorities have not acted despite repeated reports and are afraid it will take something drastic before action is taken. Some commenters expressed disappointment with the authorities' handling of the situation. One wrote, "The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force must do better to protect residents." Another added, "This has been going on for years. It's time for serious action before something worse happens." These repeated allegations have raised questions about how known offenders are monitored and that measures in the community. The police, however, said they have issued warnings to Hanley, but said the responsibility lies with the Health Ministry to take action as Hanley is confirmed to be mentally ill. While the Public Service Management Act 2024 has been hailed a significant improvement in the civil service governance, local commentator Kishma Penn this year spoke on the pressing issue within the system. Unchecked sexual harassment. Penn expressed grave concern about the pervasive issue of sexual harassment within the civil service, calling it an unchecked and unmentioned problem, stating, and I quote, "Too many department heads are complicit in dealing with the issue. Too many heads of sections are complicit, and too many supervisors are the ones who are in fact the persons who prey on the employees and put them in those very uncomfortable positions." According to her, victims often face retaliation rather than support when they report harassment. This culture, she claimed, has derailed many promising careers and made repeat victims of those who have complained. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force confirmed a significant cocaine seizure just off Hodges Creek, Tortola on Tuesday, March 5th. While the exact quantity of cocaine seized has not been disclosed, authorities described it as the largest maritime drug bust in the history of the British Virgin Islands. Governor Daniel Bruce issued a strong call to action, urging individuals with known knowledge concerned about the recent significant drug seizures within the territory to come forward. His Majesty's Customs Department announced the interception of a significant drug importation operation that occurred on December 10th. According to a government press release issued on the 12th of December, customs officers discovered numerous packages containing a green vegetable matter suspected to be cannabis during a routine cargo inspection. Despite these efforts and the successes, concerns persist among some residents about the territory's porous borders and insufficient personnel to adequately monitor all ports of entry, suggesting that larger quantities of drugs may have bypassed detection. With growing concerns from the public about crime, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force announced the establishment of an armed response unit on Virgin Gorda. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force this year announced plans to have over 100 CCTV cameras operational across Tortola by the end of 2024 to enhance security. Looking ahead to 2025, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force has requested additional funding to address remaining gaps in coverage on Tortola. Virgin Gorda is also slated to see an increase, where the number of CCTV locations on the sister island will increase from 5 to 10, deploying over 20 cameras for enhanced security coverage. A leading tech expert this year sounded the alarm on the increasing risk of sextortion targeting young people in the Virgin Islands, a growing issue that has psychological and sociological consequences. The warning came from Steves Gomez, a cybersecurity consultant with over 10 years of experience, who spoke on the Emoja Show about the hidden dangers children face online. Gomez stressed that sextortion, previously considered rare, surged during the pandemic. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force received at least 4 reports of blackmail scams targeting residents in the territory this year. In a statement, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force noted that residents reported receiving alarming text messages demanding cryptocurrency payments, specifically in Bitcoin, with threats to release compromising photos or personal information if payments were not made. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force this year highlighted challenges in arresting individuals solely based on gang affiliation due to the absence of an anti-gang legislation within the Virgin Islands. On Tuesday, November 12th, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force alerted the public about the Money Boys gang linked to various criminal activities, including the shooting of Kazari Stout. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the gang comprises of approximately 12 men, aged 17 to 25, spread across several communities, with members reportedly possessing unlicensed firearms. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force launched an investigation into a Facebook video allegedly promoting violence as a form of political expression. The video was made by Virgin Islander Kareem Picklemoth Pickering. In a statement on December 18th, Wednesday, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force confirmed awareness of the video, which they believe incites violence and potentially violating local laws. Commissioner of Customs Wade Smith emerged victorious in a judicial review case against Senior Magistrate Tamir Richards and the Commissioner of Police. The court found that the actions of the Senior Magistrate in granting a search warrant against Smith were unreasonable, unjustified, and lacked substance. Former Deputy Commissioner of Police Alwyn James was this year exonerated from charges in a controversial firearm case he denounced as abuse of process. The case ended with the court acknowledging procedural failings and potential entrapment tactics used against him. Governor Daniel Bruce has praised the dedication and ingenuity of prison staff in the BVI as they manage, he said, challenging conditions this year, including overcrowding at His Majesty's Prison in Balsam Gut. Governor Bruce highlighted the significant effort being made to ensure the prison functions effectively despite housing approximately 120 inmates in the facility. Issued a strong warning to the creators of the Facebook page Micah Barry, calling for them to remove one of their latest videos that the leader said contains false and inaccurate information about him. The creators of Micah Barry are unknown to the wider public, and the entire page was removed from Facebook in the wake of Archer's warnings. The Virgin Islands government this year issued an alert to the public about social engineering attacks targeting WhatsApp users locally. The government sought to urge residents to remain vigilant against these cyber attacks, cautioning the public to verify unknown numbers and avoid sharing sensitive information over WhatsApp. Many persons were victims to these attacks and were compromised. Various manipulation techniques were used to trick individuals into sending funds, compromising their security and revealing private information. These incidents were not isolated to the Virgin Islands. Reports of similar scams have surfaced in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, and St. Kitts. The British Virgin Islands this year grappled with an upward trend in gun-related crimes, reflected in the number of arrests made by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. In November alone, at least 6 individuals were charged with firearm-related offenses. On November 15th, police arrested 32-year-old Richard Barronville from Longbush and 24-year-old Kaleem Smith of Nottingham Estate, charging them both with possession of a prohibited firearm and unlawful possession of explosives. 2 days later, 20-year-old Daniel Manduru from Longbush was charged with carrying a firearm without a license and unlawful possession of explosives. On November 29th, 45-year-old Luce Bethamy from Great Mountain and Dania Costello were both charged with keeping a firearm without a license and unlawful possession of explosives. Additionally, an 18-year-old Keenus Smart from Freebottom was charged with possession of a firearm with intent to commit an indictable offense and unlawful possession of explosives. Officers of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force arrested Bob George, 56, Bakimba George, 32, Gabriella George, 29, and 17-year-old male of the Valley Virgin Gorda after they executed a search warrant on a private premises on Virgin Gorda on Friday, January 19th. Royston Arrington, 32, of Personal Estate, was charged with 2 counts of unlawful possession of a controlled drug after he was arrested. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force recovered a firearm from a 21-year-old Janoy Frank following an attempted armed robbery that took place on June 14th. The reported recovered 9mm semi-automatic pistol held a magazine containing 3 live rounds, which was used in the attempted robbery in Lower Estate. 2 inmates, Andres Norwood and Estado Jefferson, were charged following a stabbing incident at His Majesty's Prison in Balsam Gut. The event occurred on Sunday, May 12th after 4 p.m., which resulted in 1 inmate receiving medical treatment at the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital. A police constable attached to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force was arrested in connection with reports of an attempt to smuggle contraband into His Majesty's Prison on July 5th. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force has charged a woman for uttering a forged document to the BVI Immigration Department. The accused has been identified as 31-year-old Tashika Bernard of King Garden Bay. She is charged with 1 count of conspiracy to provide false information to a person employed in public service. The offense allegedly occurred back in 2022, but she was arrested this year on July 4th, following a probe by the COI police investigation team. She was granted bail in the sum of $20,000. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force arrested 28-year-old Romario Morgan of Chapel Estate on Friday, August 23rd, during an operation aimed at addressing these reports. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, on August 26, Morgan was charged with possession of a controlled drug and granted $5,000 police bail. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force searched for a man suspected of discharging a firearm in a residential area on Tortola following a dispute with his girlfriend. According to these sources, the incident occurred on September 20th, when the suspect fired shots in his girlfriend's yard after their argument. A BVI man was arrested and detained in the United States Virgin Islands after being accused of involvement in a human smuggling operation. Danny Deneville, 32, of Tortola, faced charges related to illegally bringing foreign nationals into the United States Virgin Islands. Deneville admitted to the officers that he smuggled the 2 Dominican nationals from Tortola to St. John, knowing that it was illegal for him to do so. This and other similar incidents highlighted growing concerns about smuggling operations in the region involving people from various countries seeking to enter the US and BVI illegally. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force arrested 2 men who were reportedly found in possession of an illegal gun and ammunition during a routine patrol near Frenchman's Quay on Thursday, November 14. Richard Barronville, 32, of Longbush, and Khalid Smith, 24, of the United States Virgin Islands, were detained after a search of their vessel uncovered the illegal items. The Virgin Islands Law Enforcement Marine Base Joint Task Force, in collaboration with the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and His Majesty's Customs, conducted the patrol that led to the discovery. The men were charged with possession of a prohibited weapon and unlawful possession of explosives. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force this year issued crime prevention tips in response to a surge of burglaries in the East End area. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, there have been more than 7 reported burglaries within the area. Both commercial and residential properties in East End areas, especially in Greenland and Longlook, were affected by the burglaries. In November, contraband was recovered from His Majesty's Prison after a prison officer spotted an active smuggling attempt. Sources informed that an individual outside the facility was seen throwing packages over the prison while wearing a ski mask to conceal their identity. Former director of the International Affairs Secretariat, Najon Christopher, allegedly ignored advice from the Attorney General, Don Smith, when she, Christopher, dispatched a diplomatic note to the embattled former Premier Andrew Floyd 2 years ago. Christopher faced charges in the Magistrates Court this year for sending the unauthorized note seeking diplomatic immunity for the then Premier following his arrest in Miami on drug and money laundering conspiracy charges. Christopher has vehemently denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty to breach of trust by a public officer and false assumption of authority. Former House Speaker Julian Willock was arrested and charged with multiple criminal offenses on July 4th of 2024. As confirmed by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the charges stem from two separate investigations involving allegations of visa waiver misconduct and document forgery dating back 2018 and 2022. According to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the first investigation relates to the issuance of visa waivers, while the second concerns a forged document that was presented to the VVI Immigration Department in 2022. Willock, 56, a resident of Seacoast Bay, faces several charges, including one count of a public official using his office for gratification. He also is charged with conspiracy to provide false information to a public servant and uttering a forged document. Following the charges, Willock was granted bail in the sum of $50,000. The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force said his arrest charge at the time. In response to operational challenges, including a significant shortage of functional vehicles, the government announced new tenders this year for the supply of vehicles for the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. The move aimed to address sources and constraints that have impacted the force's efficiency and response times across the territory, particularly in Virgin Gorda. The Family and Juvenile Unit of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force this year released a statement warning that it is a crime to knowingly spread HIV and other sexually transmitted infections. They emphasize that such actions 162 cases reported in the last 5 years. Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia D. Wheatley this year dismissed concerns that a sluggish BVI economy is at the root of an apparent rise in serious crimes in the territory. Although the causes of the crimes may be complex, he said, the Premier debated and suggested that socio-economic conditions and a breakdown in the family or even media influence may not necessarily paint a true picture of the root causes. This year, Territorial At-Large Representative Stacey Buddha Mather intensified calls for a very swift response to the territory's escalating crime crisis. Despite a promised anti-crime summit and a comprehensive crime report, the territory continued to grapple with a surge in violent crimes, including a concerning number of homicides in 2024. In 2023, Premier Wheatley pledged to convene an anti-crime summit in the first quarter of 2024 to address the growing problem. While the summit is yet to materialize, the issue has taken on even greater urgency, with the territory experiencing a disturbing number of murders this year. As we look ahead to 2025, there's a renewed focus on solutions, from enhanced law enforcement resources to community-led initiatives. The introduction of CCTV cameras, calls for an anti-crime summit, and ongoing reforms give hope for a safer tomorrow in these Virgin Islands.